A quick thank you to the T5 peeps, TheDragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, DuckMachine, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos2Mist. Thank you very much. Humanity, Open for Business, written by TheStabbyBrit. Bashing humanity is the latest fad these days, which is bloody unfair in my opinion. Look, I'm not saying humanity is perfect. We've made mistakes. I'd say allowing the Jordanian hegemony to rule us for 1,000 years as a totalitarian, xenophobic galactic empire was a bad move all around, really. But in fairness, we didn't exactly ask them to do it. Moreover, it has been nearly 2 centuries since we officially wiped them off the map, and that's just when the collapse of the hegemony officially ended. Best point being, stop claiming that we're a bunch of war-hungry mass murderers. Only most of us are like that. I'm also willing to admit that the New Glavendales are not exactly a shining example of how to run a colonial cluster. And I'm not saying that because nobody's running it. Seriously, go to any world in the NG cluster, announce that you are here to free them from tyranny and oppression, and I guarantee all your stuff will be seized by the Revolutionary Army before the end of your sentence. I'm not saying that they deserved to be dumped in the Skotan Spiral Arm on a bunch of autocratic colony worlds built to fail in 70 years so they'd be forever dependent on the overlords to survive. I am saying that justice for the Glavendales Brigade has never set foot on those hellholes. If you're an innovation or one of the species they've enslaved, I completely understand why you wouldn't like us, because your knowledge of humanity is probably entirely based on the evasion propaganda or the power-armored jackboot of the Camaro. Although, to be fair, if I had to live within striking distance of a fanatical race of draconic monsters who think God is telling them to bring order to the universe, I think I would absolutely want my entire society to be dedicated to building warships and Gauls cannons. Same with the Rubicani on the other side of humanity. Yeah, the Missouri aren't quite so violent, but have you met a Kadek? Because the Kadek have never met a species they didn't want to have a war with. Oh, and we're not taking responsibility for the Mulgan. I know they're technically human, but they've been in the black so long that I think there's mold in my shower that is more human than them. This was meant to be defense of humanity, wasn't it? Given that Jordania is probably still a bunch of mad noblemen plotting to murder every alien in the galaxy. The Rubicon Straits and the Cameron Gulf are permanent war zones. The New Glavendale cluster is a blood-soaked anarchist utopia, and Spartan Drift exists. Given all that, what could I possibly hold up as proof that mankind is a great and glorious thing? Your Saturn mate, the Great Traverse. When our ancestors realized that they were sandwiched between some angry, bitey aliens, they did the only sensible thing they could. They decided that they were going to hop across the void between the spiral arms. Yeah, I know, the void contains untold thousands of worlds. We're stood on one right now. Point being, anyone who knows anything about the formation of interstar links will tell you that it's a bloody miracle that the space exists. Most stars out here aren't part of a system forever closed off from the rest of the galaxy, unless someone develops a way to hop between them without the links. Every leading expert in the field of stellar cartography for every spacefaring species that had stepped more than a dozen links from home agreed that you could not cross the void. But we did. In fact, we didn't just cross the void, we tamed it. Those massive warp gates you find all along the passage of Nalar. We built them. No, we didn't find them. No, they aren't some ancient relics of the Ungoltha or some other dead race like the Evicians claim. Humans spent centuries working out how to get across this gulf. And where the route was too damn windy for our liking, we built these colossal rings, hooked them up to moon-sized fusion reactors, and punched holes in reality to make the route more direct. Of course, that's not what made the Great Traverse. No, this place was merely above average until Jordania imploded and the law slammed its gates shut. That was when things became great. See, when the strife happened, everyone else panicked. They closed their borders, hoarded their resources, and turned on each other. Then there was us, traversers, a thin golden line of humanity spread across the void with enemies on every side. So what did we do? We set up shop. You heard the War of Talon on scale. That was us. Probably should apologize, but we didn't. A Kardec armada decided that they were going to take a chunk out of the Great Traverse now that humanity was falling apart. And some bloody genius went up to them and said, "Sorry, we're a weak and boring opponent, but if you want to truly earn fame and glory, we can show you where to find a truly legendary foe." And just like that, the Kardec invasion not only kept the Marian Kingdom from invading us for 30 years, they paid us for the privilege. Speaking of the kingdom, did you know the evasions can get high? They sure didn't, but we found a way. There are a good dozen space stations dedicated to producing narcotics that allow the least fun species in the galaxy to let their spines down. Seriously though, you have not known terror until you've heard of evasion laughed. Reactor meltdowns make a more soothing noise. Then there are the Al-Qatani. Oh boy, the Al-Qatani. When their diaspora carried them to Esther, those poor little furballs were convinced that we were going to do to them what every other species had. Beat them, enslave them, and make them suffer. Instead, we took them in. We let them settle on our planet and in our orbitals, and we made them feel welcome. Thus did humanity discover the greatest trait of the Al-Qatani. They are permanently horny and have absolutely no concept of modesty. Go to Esther sometime and check out Foxtown. Daily private orgies, nightly public orgies. My captain took us to Esther when I was 14, and it took 2 grown men to drag me back on board. Now we traversers are untouchable. People try to invade us sometimes, but they always fail because when they come to gather up their war fleets, they get a letter reminding them that the Great Traverse built their warships, sold them their ordnance, and delivers their fuel. Want to enslave humanity? You can. There's a company called Endemic Engineering. They will clone, grow a population, and ship them to whatever planet you ask. Want them docile? They can make them docile. Want them to fight back? We can do that too. I have contacts that can turn your victims into religious crusaders, guerrilla insurgents, or whatever kind of enemy you would like. We will deliver the enemy of your dreams, guaranteed 6 months armed resistance or half your money back. Want to slaughter a population, but for some reason you have a problem with hurting living beings? We'll make robots for you to kill, or we'll build a supercomputer system that'll let you play a simulated war. But even if you don't want to play by our rules, even if you make your own weapons and you want to take a real bite out of the Great Traverse, you're just dooming yourself. We do business with every major and minor power on this side of the galactic core. Yeah, even the Marian Kingdom, even the Masuri Empire, and every major Kardec clan. Hell, even the legendary Makari, if their rumors are true. You attack us, you are threatening the Silk Road that every one of those mad buggers used to enrich themselves, to spy on their enemies and to move their game pieces safely across the intergalactic playing board. That is the modern political chicanery. They will rip you dozens of new orifices and do unspeakable things to those orifices with an inventive assortment of torture devices if you ever dare fire upon so much as a communications buoy. Why? Because we bought the galaxy. We don't run most of it. We don't even run a majority of it. But we don't need to. We own the trading ports. Traverse standards are the de facto intergalactic currency. We are where the mercenaries come for work, where the extra-national lawmakers coordinate, and where the pirate lords run their criminal empires from. We are the reason you eat potatoes with every meal. Yes, potatoes are from Earth. Believe it or not, the common language of yours. That's Traverse Common, our language. A third of our population is non-human, taking the Great Traverse as a whole. You wear our clothes, you listen to our music, you eat our food. You have spent your entire life living in a society that has been desperately trying to be like us for 2 centuries. And has been so successful, you don't even realize that you're aping us. Best of all, we made a stupid amount of money doing it. Welcome to the Great Traverse. The story was free. The next one costs extra. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.